Sometimes priming your model can be a difficult decision when you're having to decide on what product you should use or what colors you should prime a model. So in this video, we're going to cover a couple different products and help you make a decision on what color you should be priming your model. Let's get into it. What's going on, guys? Vanilla Paints here, and today we're going to discuss what primers you should be using or what color you should be priming a model. Priming is a very important step, not only because you're looking for a color to start, but when you don't prime your model and you attempt to paint on it, the paint has trouble bonding to the model. So it's always important that you prime your model first, and it's also important that you make the correct color decision. For instance, you wouldn't want to prime a model in a black if you're planning on painting the model white. It's going to make your job harder. So we're going to cover that in this video. I have a couple different primers set to the side, and we're just going to briefly discuss them, and I'll make my recommendations as we go along. So right here, this is Rust-Oleum. This is the Ultra Cover. This is a flat white. I use this product very often. I tend to lean on this one more than any other primer. This goes on very smooth. It has a controlled spray nozzle. This allows to get a very wide kind of fan shape when you're priming the model, and it allows for a little bit better coverage. Now, this is very pleasing to paint on top of because of how smooth it goes on. I never have any issues with this chipping off, so I would recommend if you're planning on priming in white, this would be a good product to go to. This is a flat black. This is Project Source. This is a product that I currently have not used. Now, I have seen other people use it. It has got a good review. This is something that if you're looking to save a little bit of money, this is where you want to go. This is a little bit cheaper primer. Now, it's a very dark black, so if you're planning on doing a model that's going to have a bright outcome at the end, this would not be something you'd want to go to. Now, from what I've read about this is supposed to bond very well with plastic. Now, once I've used this product, I'll do a full review on it, but for now, I just kind of wanted to show you your options. Krylon is another popular brand amongst the community. I personally do not care for it. I have a lot of issue with the Krylon wanting to chip off the model while I'm painting it. Sometimes I'll run a brush across it and a little piece will flick off, and then we have a big mess. This is also something, I believe this is like $3 US. I don't care for the nozzle on it either. You see, it doesn't have that clean coverage tip that we were talking about. This doesn't fan out quite as wide, which requires a little bit more patience when you're applying this primer. And it doesn't quite have the coverage that the tip that we find on the Rust-Oleum brings to the table. So that's something to keep in mind with this as well. Next, we have the Valspar. This is a product that I used and really enjoyed. This also has the controlled nozzle, which allows for the wider fan. When you're priming the model, you get more coverage per pass, and this also goes on very clean. Now, the cons with this product, it has a very strong aroma. When you use this, please, guys, be safe. Make sure you're doing this outdoors. You're using a respirator. This is something that tends to not be taken seriously amongst the community. Anytime you're using a spray can of any kind, it is dangerous. There's a lot of fumes that come off of this stuff. There's a lot of overspray. And when you're inhaling that, this is stuff that causes problems over time. You're not going to immediately notice, like, oh, guys, I'm having trouble breathing today. No, that don't work that way. We're talking 10, 15 years down the road, you're going to have respiratory issues. So please be safe when you're doing any kind of priming, wear a respirator, or do it in a well-ventilated area. This product I would strongly recommend. Again, keep in mind that this product produces a lot of fumes. I've had great success with it. I really enjoyed it. I just don't use it anymore. I have kids, and even when I'm spraying outside, those fumes manage to find their way into the house. Lastly, this is the Citadel line of primer. Now, this particular color, they do not produce anymore. They've changed the name. I'm pretty sure it's the same color, but you're not going to find Chaos Black. This is a very expensive product. This, if the camera can show you, it's $17 US for this one can. Now, this is one that's going to require a little bit more discussion. While this is incredibly expensive primer, this primer dries almost instantly when it hits the model, and that is a very good quality. Now, it's also a very dark black, and you can expect the same things out of the whites. It's going to be an almost instant dry when it hits that model. It goes on very clean, very smooth, and it also, as you see, has that controlled tip. That's something I keep referencing. That tip is very important on any can that you're using for your priming step. I would strongly recommend this product if you're wanting to spend the extra money and kind of take it to the next level. But there's other things that can do the job if you're working on a smaller budget. So we've covered all kinds of different primers. We've covered the brands. So how do you decide on what color you should be priming your model? Well, this kind of comes down to the artist. Generally, when I'm working on light colors, I tend to use a lighter primer. If I'm working on darker colors, I tend to go to a dark primer. Now, there are some exceptions. For instance, let's say I was painting a model pink, but I didn't want that pink to be excessively vibrant. I wanted to kind of keep it knocked down and have some dark tones coming through. By priming in a black, it's going to allow me to put on controlled layers and slowly work that pink up to allow the amount of black I want to bleed through to the pink. Now, there's also other techniques to achieve this with washes and such, but sometimes working up the layers and allowing that darker tone to bleed through can add really nice visual effects. So if you're going to be going with, for instance, dark colors, let's say you were going to be painting a model that was brown, again, you would generally want to use a darker primer, but there are cases where you wouldn't. For instance, let's say that the brown you're using is excessively dark, but you're wanting to kind of have more vibrance out of that color. By priming in a lighter color like a white, once we put that brown on top of that white, the brown's going to pick up some vibrancy from the undercoat. Now, that can be knocked down by simply applying more layers. But these are all things that you should take into consideration when you're selecting the color for what you're priming. So there you have it, guys. That is a wide variety of different priming products that you can use. I tried to cover everything the best that I can. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below in the comment section. Again, if it needs a video, no problem. We'll make it. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. When you subscribe, make sure you turn that little bell icon too. That way you can stay up to date every time when I post something and get notified. Thanks again, and I'll catch everybody in the next video.